What are you doing here? One day, my wife just disappeared, leaving a divorce paper on the desk. I was left clueless, just told that we were getting a divorce. After a persistent search lasted 5 years, I finally found her. But there was an unfamiliar toddler by her side. Just as I was about to give up and go home, my mother-in-law called out to me from behind. My name is Daniel Johnson. I'm turning 30 this year. I met my wife, Emily, back in college through a club, and we got married 5 years ago. Initially, we both wanted kids, but as we got busier, I started thinking maybe kids could wait. Don't you want kids anymore? It's not that I don't want them, but my job's really hectic right now. I wouldn't be able to help much with childcare. I still want kids, though. Raising a kid without any support from the others is tough. I want to be ready to jump in if something happens. After we frequently began discussing having children, Emily and I started arguing more. To avoid the arguments, I began staying out, working late on purpose, leading that kind of life. But I didn't think things could stay this way forever. I just didn't have the means for kids now, but I figured things would ease up in a few years. That's because I was on the brink of a promotion. If I were to get promoted, I'd receive a higher income and wouldn't necessarily need to work overtime for extra money. Consequently, I could support Emily when she's ready to have a baby. I thought there was no rush since I was only 25, but looking back, Emily must have felt a ticking clock for getting pregnant. I realize now how foolish I was. I was clueless about Emily's feelings and truly regret it. Just as I told her to wait for kids until after my promotion, a life-changing event occurred. Like any other day, I woke up at the usual time and started getting ready for work. I usually wake up earlier to prepare breakfast for both Emily, and as part of my routine, I do a quick cleanup before heading to work. But that day, for some reason, Emily didn't get up. Worried, I went to the bedroom. Everything okay? Feeling sick? Yeah. I think I'll take the day off from work. All right, rest up. If you need anything, let me know and I'll pick it up on my way home. With that, I left for the office. I wanted to finish up some piled up work, but it was challenging and took longer than expected. Consequently, my task was completed 3 hours beyond quitting time. I never fail to email Emily after quitting time to let her know that I'm on my way home. However, on this particular day, there was no reply from her even after I finished work late at night. I thought she seemed very tired, as she didn't even ask me to buy anything. So, I bought ingredients for her favorite soup as well as ingredients for my own dinner, and headed home. I'm home. I'm gonna make some soup. Can you eat? I called out towards the bedroom, but there was no response from Emily. When I opened the door to check on her, she wasn't there. The closet was half open, so I checked inside, and for some reason, all of Emily's clothes, bags, and suitcase were gone. What's going on here? In shock, those were the words that slipped out. Worried about Emily's safety, I called and emailed her multiple times, but got no reply. Pacing around the house, unsure of what to do, I noticed a paper-like object on the table. As I picked it up, shock numbed me. A divorce paper. Really? Indeed, she had left a divorce paper on a table, neatly filled out in Emily's section. So, the divorce paper is telling me that Emily left me behind. Since then, I started searching for her every day. I used to work late all the time, but since Emily left, I stopped doing overtime, even at the risk of not getting promoted, and hurried home to search for her. Since she left the divorce paper for me to fill out, I couldn't report her as a missing person to the police. I also reached out to my mother-in-law, Barbara Smith, but she just told me not to worry. But she suddenly disappeared. She'll be fine. She's probably somewhere doing well right now. You should start a new life for yourself. Despite repeated calls to my mother-in-law, that was all the response I got. Still, I kept searching for Emily every day. Since I couldn't file a missing persons report, I decided to distribute flyers, handing them out near stations and around my home, and also posted information requests on social media. Even with all that effort, Emily remained untraceable. Time passed with no progress. 1 year, then 2, with only time moving forward. Without Emily, I felt like a walking corpse. My colleagues and bosses expressed their concern, and I was so out of sorts that I couldn't even manage household tasks. I relied on ready-to-eat meals and neglected to maintain cleanliness or take out the trash, resulting in the house becoming cluttered and resembling that of a hoarder. I barely managed to keep my job, but my juniors were continuously outperforming me. Eventually, the talk of my promotion was postponed, and I started losing sight of what I was working for. I turned down invitations to hang out from friends, wondering if I could ever be happy again. Negative thoughts began to dominate my mind. Then, one day, I heard something intriguing. It was 5 years after Emily had left when I received this information. A friend mentioned seeing someone who looked like Emily in the neighborhood. That day, I skipped work and immediately headed to the address my friend provided. I only caught a glimpse near my friend's place, so I had no idea where Emily might be living. Moreover, I wasn't even sure if it was actually Emily. Reportedly, the person resembled her. Yet, I desperately headed to the destination, like grasping at straws. I arrived at the address my friend gave me, but there were several apartments and condos around, making it hard to pinpoint Emily's exact location. I decided to wait and sat on a bench in a nearby park, hoping she might pass by if this was her neighborhood. It was a chilly day, and the forecast predicted the first snowfall of the year. Despite bundling up, it was still freezing cold. I hadn't worn gloves or a scarf, only a knit pullover and a down jacket. As a result, my hands and ears turned red with cold, gradually becoming numb. How many hours had I waited? I had been in the park since morning, and it was already 6 p.m. I thought about going home and coming back another day. Just then, I couldn't believe my eyes. There was Emily, walking past the park. It was Emily. I wanted to run up to her, but I didn't know what to say. And to my surprise, there was a toddler next to Emily. It had been 5 years since then. Maybe she had found someone new. What was I even expecting? She left silently with just a divorce paper, so I should have known her love for me was already gone. Yet, I couldn't give up my feelings for Emily, and ended up doing this. Emily, chatting happily with the child, entered an apartment. In the end, I just stood there in the park, unable to call out to her, lost in thought. It's time to go home, and to forget about Emily. Murmuring that to myself, I was about to leave the park and head home. That's when someone suddenly called out to me from behind. "Why are you here?" Unsure if the voice was meant for me, I reflexively turned around. There stood Barbara Smith, my mother-in-law. "It's been a while." Just uttering those words was all I could manage. My spirit nearly broke in. "Why are you here?" I hesitated on how to answer, but realized there was no point in lying. I told her honestly that I had been searching for Emily, and about the information I had received. I've been looking for Emily all this time, but seeing her happy, I realized she doesn't need me anymore. "I'm going home now." I was about to leave when Barbara surprisingly tried to stop me. "You look so cold. How long have you been here?" About 9 hours, I guess." "You wanted to see her that badly?" "Yes, I still love her." I was ready to give up everything just to see her. After hearing my response, Barbara seemed to ponder for a moment, then slowly started walking towards the apartment, pulling me along. Could she be taking me to meet Emily? What should I do now? Especially with a child and possibly a new man in her life. Am I even allowed to meet them? Lost in thought, I realized we had already reached the apartment. Do I even deserve to meet Emily? I don't know about that, but you wanted to see her, right? Plus, you're shivering from the cold, so come in and warm up a bit. I followed Barbara inside, as she suggested. She took out a key from her bag and opened the door to the apartment. "Mom, you're back. Did you find what I asked for?" I really couldn't find it anywhere. The moment the door opened, the voice I wanted to hear the most reached my ears. The living room was out of sight from the entrance, so Emily hadn't realized I was there yet. While I was wondering how to face her, a young child ran out from the living room. "Grandma, welcome back." "Who's that?" Hearing the child's voice, Emily seemed to realize someone else was there and came from the living room towards the entrance. She looked utterly surprised upon seeing my face. "Daniel, why are you here?" "He wanted to see you. He waited in the park outside for 9 hours, hoping you'd show up." 9 hours? You must be freezing. Come in, take off your shoes. I'll make some warm tea." Emily hurried to the kitchen after saying this, followed by the child mimicking her. Though I was somewhat hesitant, decided to warm up in the living room. After a while, Emily came with a tray carrying steaming coffee. "First, drink this and warm up." "Thank you." Perhaps it was the warmth returning to my chilled body, or the joy of seeing Emily after so long, but I found myself unexpectedly tearing up. Seeing me like this, the child handed me several tissues. "Are you hurt somewhere? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, thank you." I took the tissues from the child and wiped my tears. I was led into the house as told, but I wasn't sure what to talk about. Looking at Emily, she seemed healthier than when we were together. She must be getting well-nourished meals from a new man, I thought, feeling a mix of relief and a tinge of sadness. The child is adorable. "What's her name?" "Her name is Lily. She turned 4 this year." "I see. Lily. She has eyes just like yours, Emily." Lily was energetically running around the room, not paying much attention to our conversation. Her sharp eyebrows and large eyes with slightly drooping corners, and her gentle smile. She resembled Emily so much. As I watched Lily with a fond smile, Emily seemed to want to say something, exchanging glances with Barbara. "Hey, maybe you should explain things properly." "But what is it? If there's something, please tell me." When I asked eagerly, Emily fell silent. Maybe she wanted to say I shouldn't have come. That makes sense. She started a new life in a new place. She wouldn't have expected me to show up. From Emily's perspective, my actions must have been extremely troubling. Thinking I should leave as soon as possible, I grabbed my bag from the floor and stood up abruptly. "I'm sorry for barging in like this. I'm glad to see you and the child are happy. I won't come here again, so don't worry." With that, I started walking towards the entrance. Then, Emily, who had been silent, murmured in a small voice, "Her mouth and nose are just like yours." "What?" I turned around swiftly, startled by Emily's words. Emily was gazing at Lily with a look of affection, and I, drawn by her gaze, looked at Lily too. What did she mean? "Her mouth and nose resemble mine. Isn't this child from her new partner? Whose child is Lily?" Honestly, I was afraid to ask. From the way Emily spoke, it seemed like I might be involved. But if that's the case, why did Emily suddenly leave our home? Maybe she thought I was a worthless man who couldn't raise a child with her. Looking around the room again, I noticed there were no men's items. It seemed unlikely Barbara lived here, so it must be just Emily and Lily living in this apartment. She wanted to get away from me that badly. Just as negative thoughts started to cloud my mind again, Emily revealed the truth. "Lily is our child, yours and mine." I had suspected it, but it was still a shock. "This child is my daughter." I couldn't believe it. For these past 5 years, I hadn't seen Lily grow up at all. Being suddenly told she's my child, it wasn't something I could easily accept. But more pressing was the question of why Emily left. If she had stayed with me, at least financially she wouldn't have struggled. Even if her love for me was gone, couldn't she have stayed until Lily grew up a bit? The pregnancy and birth must have been tough. I could have helped if I were there. Trying to control my unsettled emotions, I asked Emily, "Why did you leave?" "Leaving a divorce paper. Did you hate me that much?" "That's not it. It's not like that." "Then why? Do you have any idea how much I've searched for you these past 5 years?" "I'm sorry. I don't want your apology, Emily. I just want to know why you left." Emily remained silent for a while before starting to speak in a soft voice. She first learned of her pregnancy with our child and wanted to tell me, but I was always busy with work, coming home late and leaving early in the morning, so there never seemed to be a right time to talk. On my days off, I was too exhausted and mostly slept, and she couldn't find the right moment to bring it up. Additionally, whenever the topic of children came up, I always asked her to wait a bit more, and she felt like she was always being put off. As time passed without being able to reveal her pregnancy, her health started to decline. She worried that if she told me about the pregnancy, I might leave her, and so she decided to leave first, placing the divorce papers and leaving. Initially, she lived with her mother, who supported her. Once Lily grew a bit, Emily started working and eventually earned enough to support the two of them. She denied she hated me, but she felt she couldn't bring up her pregnancy and thought it would be better for her to leave than to be a burden. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I'm sorry for leaving without saying anything, but I was scared. I still love you, Emily." And Lily is my daughter, right? At my words, Emily looked up sharply. Thinking back, Emily was always a bit hasty. She tends to neglect and sacrifice herself for others, resulting in her often feeling physically and emotionally exhausted. I knew this about her since our college days. What was I doing all this time? The realization of my own incompetence and the lack of trust I inspired was overwhelming. Emily, what do you think of me? As a husband, as a father, I still love you, but I don't know what to do now. It seems she still regrets leaving the divorce papers and going away. Hearing my words of love, she appears even more remorseful about her unilateral decision. Ultimately, I want to respect Emily's and Lily's wishes, but I long to live with them. To Lily, I might be a stranger, but I want to take time to become her father. Despite the lonely and tough times I caused Emily, I doubt I'll ever find someone I can love as much as her. I feel like I can do anything to protect Emily and Lily. After sharing my feelings, Emily's expression brightened slightly. Still, she seems to think living together again isn't practical. But we're already divorced, aren't we? To remarry. What are you talking about? We're not divorced. Emily thought I had submitted the divorce papers, but that's not the case. Honestly, I considered filing for divorce for a moment, but I couldn't do it without meeting Emily first. So, the paperwork is still in my closet. Therefore, even though we've been living apart for 5 years, we're still legally married. When I told her this, Emily was surprised. Then she looked down, deep in thought. While we were talking, Lily, who had grown tired of playing, came over to us. Excuse me, what are you talking about? Lily wants to talk too. We're having a serious conversation right now. Can you play by yourself a little longer? No way. I'm bored. Mister, play with Lily. Lily said this as she pulled on my hand, leading me to a small table set with teacups and plastic cakes. It seemed she wanted to play pretend with a cafe set. With Emily watching us worriedly, I began to play pretend with Lily. I had never really played with a child her age before and didn't know how to interact. Moreover, I had almost no idea what would make Lily happy. But after about 30 minutes of playing pretend, I realized something. When Lily smiled and laughed happily, it made me happy too, and I wanted to protect that smile. Lily, have you ever missed your dad? I found myself asking her this question unconsciously. Lily, who had been engrossed in our game, stopped and looked at me intently. I don't know because my dad isn't at home. But mister, you are kind like my dad. Seeing her innocent smile, I couldn't help but tear up again. I felt embarrassed to cry in front of others so often today, but my emotions were just too strong. Lily, seeing me cry, looked concerned, showing just how kind she is. She must have grown up to be so kind thanks to Emily. Unsure whether I could really be a father, I decided to take a chance and ask Lily, how would you feel if I told you I'm your dad? I'd be happy. And even happier if you play house with me every day. How about the three of you live together? Barbara, who had been quietly observing, suggested this. I wanted to live with them, but what about Emily? She doesn't seem enthusiastic about me, and she must be anxious about changing her current life. Maybe it's better for me to be alone. As I hesitantly looked towards Emily, I saw something I hadn't expected. Emily was crying, nodding her head vigorously. I always wanted to live together. Me too. Please come back. Let's start a new life together, all three of us. After some time, Emily and Lily came to my house. I frantically cleaned up the house, which hadn't been properly cleaned in the past 5 years and was full of trash bags. Now, it's spotlessly clean and ready to welcome them. I thought Emily would definitely demand a divorce if she saw it in its previous state. I've never cleaned so thoroughly in my life. My apartment was spacious enough for all of us, with spare rooms and no issues accommodating one more person. The area is well regarded for its safety, and there are elementary and middle schools nearby. It's a perfect fit for Lily's future, and a great place to settle down for a long time. It feels strange, even though I used to live here before. Well, that's because you've been gone for 5 years. It's a big house. Where's Lily's room? Watching Lily run around excitedly looking for her room, I finally felt like my family was back. Since Emily left, my life had been like an empty shell. I had lost sight of why I was working or even living. It was like wandering aimlessly in complete darkness, with no goal in sight. But now, things were different. I had a home, a family, and a job. It might sound exaggerated, but I felt like I could do anything. It was like being in an invincible mode in a video game. Indeed, my colleagues even noticed a change in me, asking if something had happened, as my work performance improved noticeably. Filled with vitality since living with my family, about half a year later, I received the news of a promotion. My sales results had visibly improved, and my work attitude was commendable. The prospect of a promotion that I had shrugged off during Emily's absence suddenly filled me with excitement. Having a family to protect gave me a newfound joy in such achievements. The day I heard about the promotion, I rushed home to have dinner with my family. I've got some news. I got a promotion. Really? Congratulations. That's wonderful. What's promotion? It means Daddy worked really hard. Lily looked up at me with interest, then ran over and placed her hand on my head, patting it gently. Good boy, she said, comforting me in her own sweet way. Ah, how happy am I? Is it even passable to be this happy? As I watched Emily and Lily, savoring this happiness, a shadow of negative thought occasionally crossed my mind. With such happiness, could there be misfortune waiting in the future? I was afraid that this happiness would be taken away from me, only to face terrible misfortune later. I was exasperated by my own negativity, but I didn't want to go through heart-wrenching pain again. I resolved to do everything I could to ensure our happiness lasted as long as possible. However, life doesn't always follow our wishes. About a year after Emily and Lily moved in, I received a call that Lily had been rushed to the hospital. I was in the middle of an important business meeting, but I left the office in a panic and headed to the hospital. My heart pounded so hard on the way there, it felt like it might leap out of my chest. What if something had happened to Lily? Could I do anything to help? Frustrated by the slow-moving traffic in the taxi, I felt helpless and agitated. I learned from Emily's call that Lily had been taken to the hospital, but she hung up before giving any details, so I had no idea what condition Lily was in or why she was hospitalized. With a sense of urgency, I got out of the taxi and rushed into the hospital. The hospital was bustling with people, making it hard to find where Lily was. I managed to get a room number from the reception and hurried there. Opening the door to her room, I found Lily, looking lively and eating candy. The moment I saw Lily safe and sound, I just collapsed on the spot with relief. Thank goodness. Hey, weren't you at work? I rushed here because I heard Lily was taken to the hospital. I thought she was in danger. Emily, seeing my state, looked apologetic and explained why she abruptly ended the phone call. Apparently, Lily had a hypoglycemic episode. Emily panicked when Lily suddenly collapsed and didn't know what to do. By the time she reached the hospital and was informed it was just low blood sugar, she felt relieved and hung up the phone. I wondered if I had overreacted by rushing to the hospital. At the same time, I was immensely relieved that nothing serious had happened. If something had happened to Lily, I don't think I could have gone on. She has become such an integral part of my life. I may not yet be fully recognized as her father, but if she sees me as someone fun to be around, that's enough for me. I'll just do what I can. Knowing Lily was okay, I rushed back to the office. I had left the business meeting abruptly without any explanation, so I expected the client to be angry. The deal we were discussing could have brought in a significant contract, but I had probably lost it now. I also anticipated a serious scolding from my boss. However, to my surprise, when I returned to the office, my boss didn't say a word about my abrupt departure. Could it be that the client hadn't left yet? I rushed to the separate room where the meeting was, and there I found a client still waiting. I'm so sorry. I apologize for abruptly leaving during our meeting. It was completely unprofessional of me. As I frantically apologized, the client assured me that he wasn't upset. He had guessed from my phone conversation that my daughter had been taken to the hospital. He also mentioned that he had no urgent business elsewhere today, so he decided to wait for my return. I had thought the client would be furious and had left, so his understanding attitude took me by surprise. He even shared that he had a young child himself and would have done the same in my situation. He commended my action as right, making me feel grateful to be surrounded by such understanding people. The client then expressed his liking for me and proposed a contract. Not just a one-time deal, but a long-term partnership. Really. Thank you so much. I repeatedly expressed my gratitude. With this contract, I would receive an incentive. For someone with a family, such incentive is a godsend. Then, I decided to take a long vacation upon receiving this blessing. To go on a family trip. Are you sure it's okay to go on a trip? And isn't it expensive to go there? I had booked an amusement park in a nearby hotel, wanting to treat Emily and Lily. However, Emily was concerned about the cost for 3 people. But when I told her about the incentive, both she and Lily were overjoyed. Going on a trip was a rare occasion for me, but this time it was different. It was a family trip. I wasn't sure if it was okay for someone my age to be this excited, but I was determined to enjoy every moment with Emily and Lily. On the day of the trip, we packed our luggage into the car and headed to the amusement park. I had taken about a week off, so we had time to relax even after the trip. Lily was only going to be this young once, so I wanted to cherish these moments as much as possible. That's why I took this extended vacation, to create these precious memories together. Although taking a break during a busy period was a bit inconvenient for my colleagues, they knew my situation and encouraged me to fully enjoy the trip. Once we arrived at the amusement park, we ran from attraction to attraction, savoring the unique food and interacting with costumed characters, making sure to take dozens of family photos. By evening, all 3 of us were exhausted and collapsed on our hotel beds as soon as we checked in. "This view is like a dream," Emily murmured, looking out at the night scenery from the window. "I'm having such a great time because of you and Lily." "Thank you." I approached Emily slowly and wrapped my arms around her from behind. It really did feel like a dream. I remember how shocked I was when I first saw Emily and Lily together. But even more astonishing is the fact that I'm now walking through life with them. Lost in these thoughts and gazing outside, Lily ran up to us and hugged us tightly. "Dad, did we enjoy today right?" "What did you just say?" I couldn't help but ask again in surprise. I said, "Dad. You are my dad." Even though we had been living together for a year, I had been secretly anxious. I wondered how Lily was thinking of me, if she recognized me as her father. These worries had always been on my mind, though I tried to hide them. But hearing Lily call me Dad and knowing she acknowledged me as her father made all my efforts feel worthwhile. "That's great, Dad," Emily said with a smile. "I'm really happy. I love you both so much." Tears flowed more than ever as I hugged them both tightly. In the future, Lily might go through a rebellious phase, and Emily and I might have arguments. But I promised myself to do my best for these 2, no matter what lies ahead.